Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Connect. I'm your host, Andy Hale. Thanks for being here. In the very first episode, I talked about the power of a personal connection. This is kind of the main theme of this podcast. The power of a personal connection, how you can make such a stronger connection with someone when you meet in person, face to face, as opposed to email, as opposed to a phone call, as opposed to no contact whatsoever. A personal face to face connection is just so powerful and such a game changer. And I just had an encounter along those lines that I wanted to share. This just happened recently. We can call it a case study on the power of a personal connection. So I'm working on a post conviction case. A lot of you know I've been working on the Starved Rock murders case with Chester Weger. I've got a whole separate podcast about that. This is another gentleman who actually reached out to me, who was in the same prison as Cleve Heidelberg, who's a guy that I represented and got out of prison after 47 years. I'm going to keep his name confidential for now since this is ongoing, but he got convicted of a double murder that took place back in 1996 and got a life sentence without parole. It is a stunning, stunning case of injustice. I am absolutely 100% convinced this guy had nothing to do with it. And I'm on a quest to prove his innocence. He reached out to me, gosh, this is probably 6 years ago. I've been working on this for 6 years. And when he reached out to me, I dug in, investigated, and the more I learned, the more I was convinced he was innocent. So I became aware of a person who's in prison who was actually friends. There were two people in a car that were both shot in the back of the head multiple times. Somebody obviously who would have been sitting in the back seat, and each person had a guy and his girlfriend both had like 4 gunshot wounds to the back of the head. There's a person serving a life sentence in prison who was friends with the female victim. And I've seen his name pop up in police reports. I see he was interviewed. So I looked him up and I thought, you know what? I need to talk to this guy. My gut, my intuition, and I always tell people, follow your gut, follow your intuition. Something is telling me this guy knows something. This guy's going to be able to unlock the case for me. So you can go to a website and you can look up incarcerated people in Illinois prisons. I look him up. And of course, he's in a prison in Illinois, the farthest one away from me. Could not be farther. Way down in Southern Illinois, close to St. Louis, a 5-hour one-way drive from me. And so I saw that and I was like, oh, goodness. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll just set up a legal call. I can set up a phone call and I could talk to him over the phone. It's like, because that's going to be 5 hours each way. It's going to be an all-day trip. He might not even know anything. Is it worth it? Well, then I paused, and I always encourage you to pause at times. And I thought about the power of a personal connection. And I decided to make the trip down there to see him in person. I had no idea what he was going to tell me. And I had to list a time on my visit when I filled out paperwork at the prison. I just put down 3:30 to 5 p.m. I figured out hour and a half is more than enough. It's not going to take anywhere close to that. Let me tell you, I went there and met with this guy. And when the correctional officers knocked on the door, because we were in a private room together, sitting across from each other at a table, the time was up. I was just getting started. I hadn't even covered a lot of the things I wanted to talk about. I mean, because we spent the first half hour talking about him, where he was from, his family. I mean, for a guy serving life in prison, we had the most incredibly normal, personal conversation. We really connected. You would think that we had very little in common. You can always find common ground with somebody. It was so easy to talk to him, and I think he really appreciated just the ease of the conversation. And we really hit it off, and we really just connected. And just two people talking. I explained what I was doing. I explained I was trying to investigate this case. He talked about knowing the victim. He knew some of the background. It might have actually been some kind of gang retaliation. My guy got convicted based on nothing. Unbelievable bag of speculation and nonsense. Nothing linking him to the crime. And so this person in prison offered to see what he could find out, offered to, poke around, try to talk to people, see what he could learn. I said, let me get you all the reports. I'll send them down to you. You can read them. And I'm optimistic. I'm going to have an update down the road. I am optimistic that this gentleman is going to provide me with some information, some clue. It might be small, it might be big, that will assist me in proving my client's innocence. I felt that so strongly when I met with him. I really felt like he either knows more now or he's going to be able to learn more for me, especially if it's this gang connection that I will have a very difficult time untangling that web, but he might not. And this would have never happened if I'd have made a phone call. If I'd had a phone call, it would have been a 15-minute, "How you doing? Sorry, I don't really think there's much I can tell you, blah, blah, blah." Over the phone, I would have gotten nowhere. But that face-to-face meeting and connecting like that, I can't even tell you how powerful it was. I'm gonna definitely go down there and see him again. I'm gonna have a part 2, but it would have never happened if I didn't take the time to make that 10-hour round trip drive to see him. So, the moral of the story is when you need to talk to someone, especially if it's somebody important, make it a personal connection. Meet face to face. If you're going to have a meeting, you've got to discuss something with somebody. It could be a family issue, it could be a business issue, it could be a job interview, it could be a client interview, it could be a sales pitch. Anything like that. Do it in person. Make the face to face connection. Connect. Take the time to connect. It'll be so much stronger. It'll be so much more productive. It'll be so much more powerful. Make that your New Year's resolution. I want to encourage everybody out there, make this one of your New Year's resolutions to make more personal connections. And if you got any great stories and you make a great personal connection, I'd love to hear it. Shoot me an email, andy@halemonaco.com. I'd love to connect with you. Make that a New Year's resolution, everybody. Making more personal connections. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Connect. I'm your host, Andy Hale. This episode was produced by Phineas Ellis and Studio Friends. Design and promotion by Bell and Ivy. I'll see you soon.